Hello and welcome back to the Mic Drop. Yes, it's your host Luke today. Yeah, I know, for most of you who've been following us and watching every one of our videos, I think, and I'm assuming you might be wondering what's happening to Evan, but you know what, Evan won't be joining and won't be continuing with the show anymore. Due to reasons. But hey, guess what? We have the show moves on, the show carries on, and we're having more people coming in, more people tuning in, more people, speaking in. And yes, the mic drop is a revolution of a generation. What we want to do here is create a revolution, trying to do something different, you know what? Because that's what we want to do, because that's what we want to do. That's what we believe Sri Lanka needs right now. And that's the reason why we have these conversations going on, carrying on each and every day. So for you, those who miss Evan, I'm very sorry. But you can catch Evan during the weekdays. Okay, he has his shows going on the weekdays. So do log in, do tune in, download the app, which is available on Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and also we're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you name it, and we have it. You can catch Evan's shows. You can catch me. You can catch the rest of the team, the rest of our shows. So without further ado, let me introduce today's guest. I'm very, very excited about today's guest. She's amazing. We had conversation after conversation before we really started this, and she's been superb. She's been amazing. Welcome to the show, Kumudini David Pereira. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me onto the show. I'm very honored. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Hi. Also.
It's a privilege, it's a privilege, and you were amazing. I think we had a lot of conversation prior to the show, and I think people should have also listened to that, because come on, that was a lot of conversation, a lot of good facts, figures, a lot of information, and I think but you know what, if you're listening and tuning in right now, you did not miss out, because you know what, we're going to get into that conversation. We're going to get into that. We're going to speak a lot about we have a lot to cover today, right, Kumudini? Exactly. All right. So that being said, so let me go. Let me ask my first question from you. So you know what, Kumudini, you're a vocal trainer. We all know that. And so being a vocal trainer, this first question is about vocal training. So what would you say is the importance of knowing how to use your voice? I think this is very important for the youth of this generation, of this country, of Sri Lanka, and all
Well,
around the world.
it's important for everyone because, first, it is our primary way of communicating, of touching someone, of making a connection, and not feeling alone. So we start creating sounds when we are born,
Exactly.
and then from that point onwards, it's a matter of trying to communicate, right? It's an interaction. It's a give and take, and um, communication is primarily derived on how we create our sounds. So how we create our sounds vocally um, is a lot more complex than most people think. I mean, think about it. Not very many people actually wonder about how our voices work, right? But if you go into the science of it and the mechanics of it, it's fascinating. And the combination of sounds that a human can make is in the billions. So it's very, very important that you understand how to use your voice. I would say, I mean, I've been doing my research for well over 10 years, and I'm still discovering stuff. But having said that, in Sri Lanka and probably most of South Asia, I'm probably ahead of the curve in terms of knowing what the voice can do, purely because
Definitely.
the information that I've gathered, uh, I've had to research what doctoral theses from and white papers, research papers, journals, etc., or from psychology to neurology to physiology to medical documents to mindfulness to martial arts. I've pulled information from everywhere. So linguistics, one of my favorite places. So
Yeah.
it's fascinating and it's very important.
Wow, you're like truly, truly passionate about. I mean, the way you speak about, vocal training, that's amazing. I mean, what you said was so true, though. There's so much that your voice can do, right? I mean, even if you take the Aragale for an instance, okay, the power of the people's voice. I mean, that itself portrayed how much powerful how much powerful one's voice carries, right,
Absolutely,
Kumudini?
absolutely, absolutely.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
a lot of people go through life not knowing or not embracing their full power that they have, not really recognizing how much power that they have. And that is one of the key things that I'm trying to address through my vocal training. It's not just about singing. I mean, I teach speakers as well as singers. I teach anyone who uses their voices. It's
Yeah.
a new point, but predominantly what I train is the mind. The voice will do what the mind wants. So it's the mental training that I provide more than anything else.
All right, guys. So you heard Kumudini. She said it. So you need to listen to her. So that being said, what would you describe as one's vocal presence per se? So would you say someone's vocal presence can make or break the image?
Well, okay. Yes, it can, depending on the image that you want to make. Yeah. Let me put it this way. So I have a lot of students who are transgender, right? They are trans. That they're not. They're changing from either male to female or female
Yeah.
to male, right? Now with the female to male, with the hormone replacements that they take and the hormone therapy, with the you know the more amount of testosterone that you put into the system, it
Yeah.
encourages the trachea to widen and go longer. So when you're transitioning from female to male, a lot of the resonance spaces that we need for the male register, the God, is it called? I can't remember the term, but the resonance chamber enlarges. So a lot of the natural, lowering of the voice actually happens naturally much more than it does to a male who's transitioning to a female,
I
right?
see.
So
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
those people, because it's already enlarged, you can't shrink it just because
You
there's
got yeah. Yeah.
estrogen involved. So,
Sure.
which
Sure.
means then I have to help them to place their natural voice higher and closer to the female register and help them to internalize it and make it intuitive. And that is what I do with the gender transitioning too. So that just by that you can see that the how you use your voice and how you place your voice is extremely important, because you're telling people in many ways how to treat you, right? And that is your responsibility. If you want people to treat you in a particular way, you have to tell them, because you can't read people's minds. So
Exactly.
your
Yeah.
voice is your first point of contact. So yes, it is very important. But having said that, it is still a decision as to what image you want to maintain.
Yeah, that makes sense. That really does make sense, and even I believe that because it all depends on what kind of image you want. It's like if you want to be out there, dominate the world. There's a certain way. You had I don't know how I mean I don't know how to explain it, but I think you're the best person to explain it. But yeah, there's a way how you use your vocal presence and all that. Is that right, Kumudini?
Oh yeah, by all means. Purely by okay. So I am talking now with my vocal muscles, the back of my throat, the sorry, what they call the pharynx, and the back of my throat, the tongue, all relaxed. So you will be hearing a particular tone. But if I enlarge this, and make it larger and lower, you can hear that my speaking voice will change, right? And it sounds a lot different. So purely by
Okay.
adjusting muscle placement and making microscopic or micro adjustments, as I call it, there's a lot you can do with your voice.
All right. So
And
like
actually,
when it
people
comes
in
to, yeah, go ahead.
sorry,
I'm sorry.
just to
Go
add,
ahead.
the people
Yeah,
in
yeah.
UK are lucky because the still method is actually being taught in the UK universities, and I think the curriculums are not very sure. And the still method is one of the best or the better ones out there at the moment. So, you know, our guys in this part of the world haven't even heard of them yet. So,
I've not heard of it, and I'm just wondering what is that.
yeah,
But so
look it up, friend.
yeah. All right. So so I just want to because we're on the topic right now. I just want to know like so say if you were an introvert. Okay, but you want to create a persona that is a strong and dominating. How would I go about it? What can I do about it?
Well, that has to do with more mindset change than voice change, right?
Voice change. Okay.
It is a top-down approach as opposed to bottom-up, because it has to be an internalization process, right? You can't act, or rather, you can't pretend to be someone else. You actually have to be someone else, right? Otherwise, it's harder to maintain a life. So it's very, very important that you internalize the person or that you want to portray. Now, having said that, pretty much everyone has different personas that they portray. For example, you'll be one person at home, one person with your sister, one person with your best friend, one person with your wife, lover, etc.,
Yeah.
etc., boss and whatnot, right?
True.
There are
True.
very, very few individuals who actually don't portray different person, right? So we all know how to be different people. It's just that being say or an introvert and you want to become an extrovert, alpha personality, you have to build that persona in your mind first and practice holding it in place and living it and then become, right? So which is where imagination, daydreaming, the want, motive, desire, all of that comes into play. So um but,
No, that is
and
amazing. Wow, that really answered my question, and thank you so much for that. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to your mentality and your mindset, which is amazing. And I believe I really believe that one can change the mindset, and you have the power and the ability to really tell your mind, no, this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to be. You can attain anything, you can do anything. The human brain, the mind is just a powerful place. It's a powerful thing.
well, the
Yeah,
human
definitely.
the human mind is very, very powerful, and we don't use most of it.
Yeah, apparently we just use a small percentage. Is that so, right? Which is a very small percentage of our brain, and that's how we do our daily thinking and being this innovation and all these innovations and all. Just a small capacity that has been used, and then it just blows my mind. Like, okay, this small percentage, and how much could we accomplish if it was 100%? So yeah.
That's also, and I mean, there's a whole other story behind it. But let's go on with the questions that you have. I'm sure those will get covered. So, yeah, although
Exactly.
we
We'll
end up
do that.
discussing everything at once. So,
Exactly. We'll do that too today. So next, I want to talk about, women empowerment because you're strong and you're very active on women empowerment. I think it's great. It's a great thing, and I think we need to address this as well and talk about it ourselves. So my next question is, what would you say is causing the rampant misogyny in Sri Lanka? Is it systematic, or is it just a few individuals who perpetuate it but are the loudest at doing so?
it is systematic mostly. It is inherent in our culture, and I think it's safe to say the entire of the eastern, southeastern culture of the world, it is inherent in our cultures because most of it was patriarchal. Very few, even if there was a matriarchal component somewhere, the men who were scared off by it managed to swallow it up, and it was those the matriarchal components or societies are very rare,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's put it this way, right? We all know that most of the time it is the woman who heads the house. It is the woman that has
That's
the
true.
most amount of
That's true.
power. And
Yeah.
you take the father has. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to, uh, trot down anyone's tails or offend anyone, but let's face it, right?
I
If
mean,
there's
I
one
agree with you. Yeah.
power that you are scared of at home, your mother or the
Mother,
female
yeah.
is the one that has the most amount of power, because he might not be overt about it, but her influence is definitely going to be there. And
Oh
and
my
and
God,
if you
yes.
think about it, we've had to fight for millennia. We've had to fight against a patriarchal system. Who better than us to know how to find the loopholes?
That's a good one. That's a good one, Kumudini. That's a very good. You know what, Kumudini? I'm sorry, but I have to stop it there right now because we have to go to a very small commercial break. But we will be right back, folks. This is Relax Radio, the mic drop. My name is Luke, and we'll be right back after this short commercial break. All right, folks, welcome back to the mic drop. We're back after that commercial break. So yeah, we were talking with Kumudini Pereira today. Hello, Kumudini. You were amazing, and we've been having really good conversation. And so we were talking about women's empowerment, and we were talking about how uh, how how women changed everything in Sri Lanka, and how women take leadership and all that. So let's go on more about it. I agree with you when you say the mother or the wife in the family actually takes control, but it took so long. Don't you think it took so long? And you see, I still believe that it's just a very small percentage that allows it to be that way. Because if you take domestic violence is massive in Sri Lanka, and I think that the mindset is still the same, and there's still that culture or whatever it is. I don't know what it is really, but I believe it is culture that What do you think, Kumudini?
It is um okay. So I'm going to talk about something. I'm going to talk about something that touches on a few topics, right?
Sure, go ahead.
We are because this has a lot to do with voice training as well, so it will cover that. Now, um,
Great.
when we as children, right, when we are born, the your purest form of individuality is at that point, right? Because it is at that point where we are told, this is how you behave, this is how you talk, this is how you think, this is how you study, this is how you learn, this is how la di da di da, this is how you interact with the rest of the world, right? So for us, especially for, I mean, not just women, it's for men also. There's a lot of cultural biases that are ingrained into us before we are given a chance to fully understand who we are, right? So a lot of times our perception of ourselves is not actually ours. Our perception of ourselves are what people around us has given to us. So a lot of times we end up coming hitting through life experience and etc, all of that, we will come to a point where we realize, okay, that's it, enough. That's when people, I think it's called midlife crisis and all that jazz. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you hit, what the heck am I doing with my life? What have I accomplished? Have I done anything that I wanted, or all of that? Those That's happened because you realize that you've actually lost yourself in doing things that you are expected to do and you've expected yourself to do. So it is a lot of social programming, it's a lot of cultural programming, and I think that is the fundamental reason why a lot of women still don't understand that they have a lot of power, because they've been programmed not to think that, not to go beyond it. Now, here I'm going to talk about something that uh, applies to all arts or all invention, all creation, right? Picasso said that to learn how to do something, to learn an art, you have to follow the rules, right? You have to use the guidelines to get to the points where everyone else is. But to become an artist, you have to break the rules, right? You have to push the norm. You have to push past your comfort zones. You have to push past what is safe to understand what something new that you can do. And that is where you create. This is why it's called creativity. To create something, you're creating something new, which is you're pushing past boundaries anyway. So a lot of the time now, if you are especially in Sri Lanka and a lot of the South Asian countries, our curriculums are still extremely archaic, and we are still in the industrial era, uh, horrible education system where schools spend a lot of time pounding individuality out of students, with the whole uniforms, with the rules and regulations. You get punished if you stick out, and all of that jazz. So yeah, we spend our formative years trying to, you know, uh, fit a square peg into a round hole, and then suddenly realize later on, and oh my God, I'm not a square peg at all, or rather, I'm not a round peg at all. So, you know, that's why it is. If you don't push past your boundaries that you have set for yourself, or your society has set for yourself, or your country, or whatever, religion, etc., if you don't push past those, at least think past those, you're not going to grow into anything. You'll just be stuck as the, you know, same person. Um, and we are not meant to be stuck. We evolve. That is how we survive.
Yeah, true. Even prior to this interview, we were having this conversation about how people, they learn from the experience, and you called it post-traumatic growth, and I said we need to talk about this as well. I think a lot of
Oh, I'm sorry. One
a
second.
lot. That is all right, Kumudini. That's all right. So yeah, we were talking about post-traumatic growth, and you were telling how we were talking about how a lot of people in Sri Lanka, actually, a lot of people of this generation right now, they change themselves, so they create difference in society. Okay, and how do you see this? I mean, it's still post-traumatic, post-trauma. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think for change to be there, there has to be some kind of a cataclysmic, there has to be a catalyst, right?
Yeah.
For there to be change. Otherwise, unless you are creating the catalyst effect yourself, a lot of times we react as opposed to be proactive, right? The trauma, and this I think goes to everyone. Trauma is, you can see it as something that is destructive, or you can see it as something that is, you can learn from and go on, and that I think is, called wisdom and maturity and all of that as well. So
Yeah.
it's necessary. Now, I was sexually abused as a child. And I had a lot of uh, crap that I had to deal with, and etc. But um, I am, I love who I am now, and I really like myself, and I like how I do things. I like how my life is, and I wouldn't be me right now if I hadn't gone through all of the shit that I did, right? And it gave me a lot of perspective, um, that is beyond everyone else's. Even as a child, I used to feel a lot older than my friends, actually quite ancient compared to my friends. And in many ways, I still do. I still feel like I'm watching other people scrambling to, catch up, so to speak. So it gives you a lot of interesting perspective.
All right, I understand. So now, that being said, I mean, I believe that as well, and I agree with you, because either you learn from your past or you just give into it. Okay,
Yeah.
so either you grow or you just give into it and be like, hey, you know what, I had a bad past. I just my past was messed up, and that's why I'm messed up. It's like
I mean,
I hear a lot of this. Yeah,
it
go ahead.
is, it is where you put it, it's a simple decision. It's a simple decision, but it's not easy,
Definitely.
right? The decision is simple. Working to make it work is not easy. You have to work at it. But it is still a simple decision. Making the decision is more than half the battle.
Definitely, I agree with you. I mean, making the decision itself is one step forward. And if you are listening right now to Relax Radio, we have Kumudini Pera with us, Kumudini Pera David, and she has been, talking super stuff with us about, post-traumatic growth, women empowerment, and we have a lot more to go, a lot more to talk about, because hey, I'm excited about this whole segment. So that being said, actually, we've got to go to another commercial break, a really quick, short commercial break. So yeah, we'll be right back. Do tune in. Do hold on to your seats. Don't leave yet, because we have lots more to talk about. Lots more to talk about. Lots more to talk hour, and we will be right back. This is Relax Radio. You want to tune into Relax Radio, download the app. Simply download our app, which is on Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and also we are available on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and yes, right now we're going live on Facebook and YouTube. You can watch us live. You can watch us after the show. You can keep logging on to us, keep connected with us, because we want to deliver the best just for you. All right, that being said, we've got to go into a short commercial break. We'll be right back with you. Hello and welcome back to the mic drop. Yes, we've got Kumudini David, and we were talking about women's empowerment. And there's a lot more that we want to cover, a lot more that we want to know from you, Kumudini. So let's also get to a little bit of child protection, because you're also actively you speak about child protection and children. So I think that's great as well. So what factors, societal and institutional, contribute towards this country potentially not being safe for children to grow up in?
Oh boy. Okay, so
that's a big one.
Yeah, big question. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about the fact that a child is defined different ways in different countries, right? And in different eras of that country as well. In our society, right, traditionally, and we have a very, 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 very long history, a girl was considered a woman and married off by the age of 13, 14 was considered marriageable age. And it is only with the the impositions from UK, the British and the European influences that we've had, that we've taken on a global or we're trying to take on a global consensus of what a child is meant to be. Now in Sri Lanka, 16 is still the legal age. You can marry a child off at the age of 16 with the permission of a parent, right? So I mean, it's a very, very long backstory for that, and I'm not going to go into it. But the point that I'm trying to make is when you have a country, even in Sri Lanka, the more, and I use the term erudite only because there's no other word that's applicable at the moment. But the ones who are better read, more exposed to other cultures, who have been able to see how the rest of the world connects and communicates, are the ones who are actually working on child rights and thinking about the protection of a child's rights. In most cases, even now, people don't actually believe that children are individuals and humans on their own right. Parents still sometimes here feel that their children belong to them and
Yeah,
they are
sure.
right, and it's a cultural thing. Having said that, we've also gone through a civil conflict war for 30 years, and during the in war, a lot of horrible things happen. You have to face a lot of very stark decisions that you wouldn't ordinarily make, right? For example, I have personally spoken to a soldier who, when they were in the north, they were clearing out a place, and a parish priest was suspected of being a supporter or a sympathizer for the other side. And when they went in to investigate him, they realized that there was one family that had a very good looking, marriageable age daughter living with them. So
Oh,
our forces thought that she was the wife of a high ranking opposition force officer, and so they investigated that family, and it turned out under after interrogation that the father had impregnated the girl to keep her safe,
oh
without,
no.
so that she will not be taken away as a child soldier, or by either party. Sorry, not ours, we didn't have child soldiers, the other side did, but he wanted to protect her from being taken either as a child bride or war bride or a child soldier, right?
Oh no. Wow.
So those kind of acts, right? People have they're made to come down to those very, very basic decisions that you only face in very harsh economic and social situations, and war is that, right? So that is one thing. The other is that because of financial situations during the wartime and etc., it is common even now for parents to prostitute their children. It's ingrained so much that they don't know it's wrong anymore, right? It has become a cultural thing. It is what my grandfather did, it's what my father did, it's what everyone did. Given that, and they all sleep in one small room, it is quite common for the male to get drunk and then miss the mark, instead of the wife to suddenly. I mean, these things
Yeah.
are. I know it's ridiculous when you hear it, but
Yeah.
they are
Then yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very real life situations. These are things that
Wow.
happen. So a lot of times people don't know that they're not supposed to have sex with their own children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews or whatever.
I mean, the
It's
stories we hear in Sri Lanka, there are so many stories we hear in Sri Lanka, and that proves your point itself. Yeah.
it's been normalized, and that is what we have to change. You have to change the normalization of these acts, right? Which means you have to go into those societies and talk them through the thinking, So it's not, I mean, it's horrible, yes, but it is not as bad as it can be. I'm sorry, but I am a survivor, and as long as you're alive and you're here, you have survived. You've gotten past the worst, and you can get past what has happened to you. What is the actual crime is, the children who lose their lives because they are used and they become inconvenient, and then which is what happens with the child sex trafficking rings. And I mean, the sex trafficking rings all over. So
That's
it's a
powerful
horrible
stuff.
thing.
That's powerful stuff, and a lot of things that I'm hearing for the first time as well. So, which really blew my mind, and I'm just I'm in shock as well. It's like, does this really happen in the country that I'm living in?
Oh,
And yeah, these happens in multitudes, and we just know so little. We know so little, and it's just, it could be the person next to you, it could be the person walking with you, and
yeah.
you would never know, and you
It
would
is.
never know.
I mean, the other thing is, I know this is debated now in the academic circles, but a lot of times, an abuser is an abuser because they've been abused themselves. Like, for example, the guy who abused me as a kid, he was sexually abused when he was young, right?
So what do you
So,
call that? What do you call that? Kumudini? Like you said, if a person grows out of post trauma, what would you call a person who is
well,
probably
it is how
worse?
you grow, right? I mean, if you grow with a germ inside you, then you suck the essence of that germ into you, and you become a mutated version of
Oh, true.
yourself. It's same thing that happens to people, right?
Yeah.
If you don't treat the trauma,
The
if
root.
you don't
Yeah.
address it, it'll it'll fester and become something else. But having said that, there are people, most probably sociopaths, who will get up one morning and say, hey, I want something different, let me try a child. That is very, very rare,
Very rare.
right?
Okay.
And but opportunistic. Now, for example, in Sri Lanka, I can't, maybe India, I don't know, right? But we have a lot of sex education here is abysmal, right? To a point where most of the time our youth, our children, etc., learn about how to have sex watching porn, right? Because we do not have, one second, statement, sorry, uh, we do
It's
not
all right.
have, sorry,
Yeah.
we do not have any standardized or accredited information, education, knowledge being transferred to our children in a healthy way. So they learn with the only darn thing that's available, which is porn, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't really blame them, right? But when your expectations are set while watching porn, then your entire sex life becomes very convoluted because you've learned it from a wrong place. Now, the same concept applies to children who are exposed to sexual abuse at a young age. Now, I will tell you that as a child, I climaxed, right? And I can talk about this now because I processed my emotions. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able.
Yeah.
But
True. True.
God's sake, child. Okay.
I think your dog is
The
kind of agreeing with you, and that's what he starts. It's like, yeah, yeah, I agree with you. So I think that's what's up right now.
so
But yeah, go on,
the
carry on.
where was I now? Yeah. So when you for a long time, right now, because I climaxed as a child, which means I was introduced to a very grown up experience and did not know how to process the darn thing. So for a very, very long time, the erotica or whatever that appealed to me was non-consensual sex, right?
I see.
So
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
because that was what I was exposed to and that is what I was used to, so I had to face that and work over it to become, because it's a very vicious cycle. Statement, you know that it is something wrong, right? Society tells you that non-consensual anything sexual is bad, right? So,
I mean, it's
and
amazing that you guys speak about this, because if we talk about sex education and like you said, sex education in Sri Lanka is abysmal, but you see,
yeah,
sex is regarded as taboo in Sri Lanka.
yes,
So you don't
yes,
publicly talk about it. It's like, oh my God, no, 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 we
yes.
don't talk about
Well, I
this.
do. I
It's, I
talk
mean,
about
yeah,
it very, very openly, but
I mean, yeah,
I
it's an
am
international
considered.
thing.
I'm considered uh, very honest. I am considered brutally open. I am
Open.
considered, people are not going to come approach me about something unless they've already gone through the mental process of, okay, I'm going to accept whatever outlandish thing this woman is going to tell me. Otherwise, they're not going to approach me because I've, let it be known that this is
You
who
say
I
it to the
am.
face. You say it to the
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. So, I
Exactly.
mean, and I have come to the point where I am one person no matter where I am. Right? I don't have personas. I
That's it.
grew out of that, and I deliberately pulled back into myself, and only I make an effort to only show who I am, all of who I am, everywhere I am. And that is not, it requires a lot of sacrifice, it requires a lot of work, it requires a lot of introspection and all of that. And not everyone is free to do so, or not scared enough to do so. But I am extremely happy that I have done that, because I'm free to say whatever the heck I want to and wherever the heck I go,
Yeah,
because this is who I am. Not everyone can do that. And I feel,
that's true.
well, so.
That, I mean, that is great, Kumudini. I think that is amazing, and this conversation itself is really amazing. And I don't think I haven't been impacted myself, and you're an influence on me right now, and this is amazing. And so that being said, Kumudini, you see, time just flies when you have a good conversation. It's 45 minutes already, and I didn't even feel time fly. But you know
Nobody
what?
does.
We've actually, yeah, we've come actually to the last, few minutes of our segment. But we have to go to a very short commercial break. I dread it, but we have to. So we'll be right back after this short commercial break. welcome back after that short commercial break. So yeah, we have Kumudini David with us this evening, and we were talking about how sex is taboo in Sri Lanka and how we can break out of it. But you were saying like to even be able to talk about it, to be able to address it, that it's going to be hard, Kumudini. How do you see, like we were talking about sex education in Sri Lanka, how can it even be implemented? Because that mindset is so deep in within people. How do you break it?
By living my truth, right? I mean, you have multiple ways of breaking it. When I started talking about child sexual abuse 10 years ago, there was no one else, quite literally, who was speaking from the point of view of a survivor. I was one of the first, if not the first, to actually come out and use my story to try and create, you know, awareness on the topic and to try and stop the rate or at least halt the growth rate of child sexual abuse. That's how I started. I started focusing on ending child sexual abuse, and then that grew to child abuse, which is a much vaster subject. And then from there, it evolved to women empowerment, to inclusivity, to equality, to all of those are very, very domino effect and natural evolution. Uh, and it comes down to my voice training also, right? All of it, everything I do is connected. I work on three principles. I work to um, enable, I work to empower, enable, and to enrich. Enable, empower, enrich. Right? To me, that is what you do. So I enable it, then I empower it, and by therefore I enrich the rest of the world, because the people who learn from me and go forward have been changed as well, and they have things that they can teach the rest of the world around them. That
Yeah.
then you talk as much as you can, and you live the way you want to be treated. Uh, that to me has become the best thing I can think of.
That's great. Thank you so much for that, Kumudini. But and I also want to address something right now, because uh, a lot of people talk about sexual abuse within a marriage, and a lot of people say that cannot occur within a marriage, because you know what, you're married to a person, and it's like you become one, and they come up with all that, all of the jazz, and what do you think about it? What's your take on it? I think that's very, very toxic, and
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell from your face that you're not happy with it, but come on, let's
I
talk
am
about it
I'm
as well.
I'm going to I'm going to be extremely controversial here. I've been
Yeah.
married twice and I'm divorced twice, right? And I've come to a point where I've realized something my father told me when I was a child. He told me, and my father was clearly ahead of his time at that point, where he told me, you don't need to be married to be happy, right?
Wow.
And I didn't realize what he was talking about until I actually went through all of this, because I've learned that no, you don't need to be married to be happy, right? You don't need to become one. That's the worst thing you should do, because you're giving up your individuality. You're not going to survive. Okay, please. Right? You're consigning yourself to living an alter whatever image and avatar of yourself for the rest of your life, and no wonder most people end up becoming psychotic and becoming the worst versions of themselves in marriages, because they're approaching it completely wrong. You cannot become one person. It's physically, scientifically, all of it impossible,
Impossible.
right?
Yeah. True. True.
Yeah. So that is where I think most people lose the plot. They get married for the wrong reasons and stay married for the wrong reasons, have children for the wrong reasons, and everything just ends up being wrong.
I see.
But the abuse inside is absolutely, I mean, in a situation where there is a lot of frustration, anger, suspicion, and etc. And these are all harsh, ugly words, but I'm sure people listening are probably, yeah, there's a lot of hostility at my home, and why most people end up escaping, like working long hours or having an mistress or well, whatever the heck, because it's an escape mechanism. If you're trying to escape your home, there's something fundamentally wrong with how you're running
Wrong.
your home,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
right? So, I mean, that you have to be honest with yourself. You have to have a lot of self-awareness. You have to acknowledge that you have failings. There's a lot of growing up to do, a lot of adulting. So abuse happens a lot in a lot of marriages. And my advice to anyone is, please do not get married unless you are absolutely certain that you can be yourself and you are celebrated for being yourself in that relationship. If not, stay the hell away from it. And on top of that, humans are not monogamous creatures. We are not naturally monogamous. That is the human
Monogamous, yeah.
concept, right?
True,
That
true.
we've imposed on ourselves. We are not creatures that bond for life or mate for life, right? And so, yeah, just like, you wonder how priests do it by being celibate their whole life.
But
Not too
Kumudini,
far stretched.
you could see, you could see older couples, you see these, high school sweethearts, they end up getting married, there's this old man who get married to his high school sweetheart when he was when he was a kid, and then they grew, they lived together, and then they come and they grow old together. You do get that, like when you say, people are not monogamous, and they cannot, stick to one person per se. But you do see people like that. You do see
Well,
people like
I
that
I do.
who live it.
I am seeing people like that now. Right now, my friends who got married, and I have friends who've been married for 20 years now, right? And I'm
Mhm.
44, who got married young. But they were lucky enough to get married at a time and be in a society at a time where talking about your personal issues and all of that was starting to be celebrated, right?
No.
So there were ways to handle it. Now, in the older generations, a lot of crap would have happened, but they wouldn't have talked about it. So
Oh yeah,
I
that was
don't
taboo
think
back
that
then.
things are very different, right? It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just
yeah.
that getting a divorce those days were really, really bad and very punitive, right? It's not so
Definitely. Yeah.
anymore, which is why you're seeing more divorces. And that's perfectly fine. But I'm also seeing a lot more successful marriages now than a while back. So I think,
Like you
the
said
way
before,
we are,
you need to,
yeah,
like you said before, you need to marry for the right reasons. And if you're not getting married for the right reasons, like you said, don't do it. Maybe you're not cut out for it. So
yeah.
I think I think that itself was just really good advice, and I think a lot of the youth itself can learn, because a lot of people, a lot of guys, girls were like, you know what, I think I'm in love with her, and I think she's the one. I think I'm going to get married to her, but they end up, in a really bad place, and they end up their whole life becomes bitter, and then they will wonder, what did I do? What did I do wrong? So I think patience is a key there as well, right, Kumudini? I
Absolutely.
know in the right
Absolutely.
reasons. Exactly. So,
Also, there is this thing that, so, I mean, with children, right? There are a lot of people I've met should not be parents. Um,
oh,
they become parents for the wrong reasons as well, right?
oh,
And being a parent is the hardest job we will ever get, and we don't get any training on it at all.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so, yeah, I mean, I personally feel that you need to have a bloody degree in parenting to become a parent. Serious. Okay?
I agree with you.
I
I mean, I've
becoming
not had kids yet. I've not had kids yet, but I agree with you. Kids aren't going to be easy. I've seen people suffer. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I was a single mom when my son was 2.5 years old. I became a single mom. And oh my God, The
Wow.
the entire shift, you become a completely different person when you become a mom, and you embrace the role, and it becomes a part of you. And whoa, boy, do it,
I hope
way.
you started listening to this show. I hope you started
And
listening to the show.
no,
But
I don't have any secrets from my son. He knows
that's great.
everything about me. Um, he's 18 next month actually.
That's
And
great.
I'm very very proud of him because he's managing his own life in Australia now, and
Oh, that's great.
I'm extremely proud of my dad. Um, I think because of who I am and the work that I do and things that he got exposed to, he's a very respectful, conscientious young man who knows when to put his foot down and fight for what is right, and tell people off and all of that. Um, eh,
That is amazing. That's truly amazing, Kumudini. I mean, I just want to go on. I just want to go on and on because this conversation is amazing. But unfortunately, we've run out of time.
I-
But I'm just going to ask you this last question because this is very, very important. And I think our listeners would definitely want to hear this from you. So, what do you want to say to any woman, any lady listening right now who feels they won't get far in any sense in this country purely because they are women?
are you asking me that they what they should do if they think that's the case?
A piece of advice, maybe a piece of advice to
Correct.
any woman listening
Okay.
right now. Yeah, if they feel like if they feel like they've been through abuse and they feel like they feel belittled, purely because they're women in Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
what advice would you give
Okay.
them?
So my advice, guys, this is for everyone. It's not just for women. Uh, I know this is very trite, but the only barriers that you have are the ones that you put for yourself. Your mind is very powerful, and if you've been telling yourself that you can't do something for a very long time, then that's it. You're not going to do it because you've already told yourself you can't. Now I face this particular time, and it's a very simple thing. I've dealt with people who tell me I can't sing for a toffee, can't sing to save my soul, but it is everyone can sing unless you are very hearing impaired or very speech impaired. You can sing. And having said that, I have students who are hearing impaired and they sing perfectly. It is a
Beautiful.
mindset, right? If you can talk, if you can speak and modulate normally, you can sing. And what I do most of the time with my students is breaking through mental blocks that they put for themselves. I help them get out of their own way, and that is exactly what you need to do. You have to get out of your own way. You have to stop telling yourself that you are being oppressed, that you can't do something, because you are what you practice. And if you practice telling yourself that you can't do something, you're just not going to do it. Right? So,
Definitely.
if you want to do something, you want to head somewhere, you have to practice being that. You have to practice doing that. There's no other way.
Thank you so much, Kumudini. So, folks, you heard Kumudini. It's herself. She said it. She said it. It is your mindset, and your mindset is fixable, like she said. And you know what? You just have to tell yourself what you want and what you can do, and you will definitely accomplish it. All right, Kumudini.
Yes,
All right,
absolutely.
Kumudini. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. It was really a real pleasure. More than a pleasure, it was a privilege and an honor. Thank you so much, Kumudini. Hopefully, we can meet
Likewise.
you very soon, and also we can have you down
Absolutely.
for maybe a part two. We should have a part two. We should definitely have a part two because there are lots more questions that I want to ask you, and this conversation has to carry on. So we'll
Yes.
definitely look forward to a part two.
Uh,
But
really.
and I hope you guys enjoy the show as well. So thank you so much, Kumudini. Thank you very much. You were amazing.
Thank you very much for having me, and have a good, well, whatever day, night, whatever you're having, have a good one, and good luck and all that jazz. So be safe also.
Thank you so much. So same to you. Same to you. Be safe and be happy. And thank you so much, Kumudini. You were amazing. She was funny. She was ecstatic. I think she was amazing. She was electric. So that being said, folks, this is the mic drop, and we have come to the end of our show. And unfortunately and sadly, I have to say goodbye to you guys. But hey, you know what? Like I said, you can expect a part two, and also expect to see Kumudini here again, and hopefully in person in our studio. But that being said, this is the end of the mic drop. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys learned something. And also, I would like to encourage you guys to pass this message on, pass this video on to your friends. If you know of somebody who has been through abuse, somebody who has troubles of their own, do pass this video to them. Or if you want us to help them, please reach out to us. We're available we're available on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, we have it. You can reach out to us, and we will try our best to help you. That's what Relax Radio is all about. If you want, we'll get you connected to Kumudini itself. Right, Kumudini?
Absolutely. By all means, please
Absolutely.
do.
Exactly. And if you want to do vocal training itself, yeah, I will get you connected to Kumudini as well. That's an
You
offer that we
can,
want to give you.
yeah, you can reach me on my Facebook profile, and my number is on it. Luke, you have my number as well. By all means, share it.
Definitely.
I am perfectly fine with all of that.
Definitely. All right. So thank you so much, Kumudini. Once again, thank you very much. And like I said, folks, this is the end of today's show, but we're going to have it next week as well. So looking forward to that. Keep your time locked, locked, because we have more coming in store for you guys. All right. Have a good day, guys. This is the mic drop.
See ya.
See you.